Oops. Oopsie. There we go. Take this down here. Okay. We're live. Chop off the top of my head there. Good morning, folks. It is a Monday morning, June the 8th, and I'm coming at you here with the live stream. I'm not in the vehicle today, but I thought I would do this at my desk. What the heck? A lot of stuff going on in the world. I don't have to update you guys on all that, do I? I think most of you kind of already know going on in the world, don't you? There is, in my opinion, a lot of good coming out of, say a lot of good. There is some coming out of what's taking place here in the world, in the United States, if you want to just focus on our country. And we'll talk about that a little bit. First of all, good Monday morning. I'm glad you joined me. We got some storms coming in from the tropical storm that's coming through the Gulf. Started coming in yesterday, I guess, hit the Gulf. Winds are kicking it up, and we're going to have some rain come in, which we can use. Rain is a good thing, not a bad thing. But anyway, we got some winds and whatnot. I don't know if they got any warnings out for us today or not. I can check that out real quick, though, and see if I can update you on that part of the weather. I know there was a 80% probability of rain this day. And now there is a 100% chance of rain through 7 a.m. That's like, okay, 20 minutes from now. Okay. Whatever. That's down here in Shelby County. 100% chance of rain today at 7 a.m. And that goes down, by 9 a.m. it says it's down to 25% chance. I guess it's going to kind of blow through here, isn't it? That's according to that. So 100% chance today, 80% chance tomorrow. That's interesting, though, that we got the rain coming in here real quick, and throughout the day, it kind of comes and goes. Of course, that's kind of like a tropical storm. That's, that swirling action. I guess it could go like that. But 100% and then down to 80%. And then throughout most of the morning, it's a small percentage until about 1 p.m. And then at 2 p.m. jumps up to 60% and then goes back down and kind of comes and goes, kind of like a hurricane would. So it's not got the force of a hurricane. So it is a tropical storm. So anyway, it will rain according to that. Now, throughout my life, and a lot of people, I've seen this happen in my lifetime, and I know I'm not the only one my age out here. There are others my age, if you will. Throughout my life, I have seen our police forces in this nation become more militarized and more militarized. I have witnessed police, instead of calming things, and really they use this brute force, and it turned a situation where it always escalates, and which is not good, in my opinion. And I guess there's a lot of people that agree with me on that. And there's one thing that these protests have done. If you watch this closely, people say, why are these people rioting? They shouldn't be, burning these buildings and breaking windows and blah, blah, blah. And, keep this in mind. If the police come in with this brute force and escalate things, that's the way it goes. U.S. law enforcement officers shoot and kill more than any other country. And I want to kind of go over this data a little bit because I want people to think when they're thinking about what's going on and why are these people so upset. And it's not, it's the majority black folks that are upset about this. I've been upset about this for a long time, even though I'm not as personally touched by it as younger and especially African. And I know this because I've shared this before. I was married to an African American lady, and I know I tasted the racism going up through the 21st century. And so you can't tell me it doesn't exist. It does exist. It's horrible. I'm acutely aware of it. I witnessed it firsthand. So in police custody, more people die. In the U.S., 12 out of 100,000 arrests results in a death. In Australia, 5. In the UK, 2. That's phenomenal difference. And of course, all developed nations don't have real good data, if you know what I'm saying. But we've known for a long time that we incarcerate more people than any other nation. So if you've watched what's taken place here in the last couple of weeks with these protests, it started out in Minneapolis, George Floyd. That was the catalyst for this entire movement. It started out with that, and from there, we initially saw a percentage. And you've got to understand, it was only roughly 20% of the protesters that were engaged in any kind of a rioting, destruction of property, that kind of stuff. But there was. The police came out, the riot gear, they got, and this is before it got real ugly. This is during the process of the protest, the initial of the police standing there. It's that what I call that Rambo mentality that I saw develop in our as our police became militarized in my lifetime. They developed, and I guess they were trained with it, this Rambo mentality, and it's a nice thing. Just in this short period of time, most of these cities, the police have backed off. They've got a police presence, but it's not this that bullshit. And look how quick the protests have become peaceful. Can we learn a lesson from this? Can we see? Pay attention. We have an issue in our nation with police brutality. It's not even safe for an old white man. He's got to be careful. Yes, sir. My driver's license. I mean, we shouldn't have to have this fear. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't know what your age is. It should not matter. You should not live in fear. There should not be this fear in our country of our government, of our policing. It shouldn't be there. You shouldn't get nervous when you get pulled over for speeding. There shouldn't be this. There shouldn't be this. Now, I'm not an anarchist. I'm not one of these boogaloos. But we need to back off because nobody likes that. That's not the way to police. So, sure. The violence on both ends, you cannot ignore the brutality of police and just point a finger at the brutality of some protesters, the riots. It's not a one-way street. But in this short period of time, if you pay close attention to the news, I don't watch, first of all, My TV never gets turned on. I read my news, and I may watch short video clips. But there's TV has gone with talking heads, propaganda, opinion. I look at the facts. This thing started. The police came out with brute force, that Rambo mentality, like that, and it escalates things. In my little town of Alabaster, Alabama, I have seen these police come on all and just you know, I've witnessed it. Ugly, horrible. You shouldn't. That's a police state. We're a police state. There's a reason we have police. There's no doubt. But that process, that way of doing this is wrong. And we have seen how look at what's happened in just a couple of weeks, because these protests spread around the world. And they started waking up. We've got a big issue with our people in this country. And the policing organizations in these towns started backing off. They didn't disappear, but they calmed down. They stopped their brute Rambo mentality. The more the police backed off, the more peaceful these protests began. You don't hear the reports of the violence. You don't hear the reports of the breaking of windows and all that stuff anymore. The police backed off. It calmed down. Something to be learned there. You think about it. So I want to make that point, because I've witnessed this throughout my life. What used to be, when I was a kid, up in Limestone County, Sheriff Buddy Evans was a sheriff for years and years and years as I was growing up. And they policed in an entire different mentality. They weren't weak. That's not the point. They were human, treated the citizens with respect. They didn't try to lord it over you. This Rambo mentality, that wasn't the process. And things were calmer. Well, that's the thing I stuck with because, but when you get this, you start a war. That's just like life. Start a war. But if you notice, just in the present tense, as the police back up a little bit, they quit showing up with all this riot gear bullshit, and they stopped the rubber bullets, and they stopped all that. Guess what? Now we've got peaceful protest. In that short period of time, what was a violent situation, instead of going in with this, I'm sorry, I don't know who you support, going in and going to shoot these people. You go in with that mentality, you're going to escalate this because people are going to fight. It's like there is police brutality in a horrible way in this country, and has been for a while. And yes, it affects the blacks more than it does us lighter skinned people. But it does affect us. We're all citizens, we're all humans, and we are subject to the same brutality. It does happen. So need to pay attention to that. I think it's a very strong statement. Yeah, good can come out of these changes like that. Like I said, voting, I'm not telling you not to vote, but these protests is getting some things done. Don't think it's not. Now let's go back to the first problem we had this year, coronavirus. It all boils down to money, right? I mean, isn't that where we go with this? It all boils down to money. So we are opening things up. You go out in public now, and outside of some people wearing face masks, you don't see, you can't see a lot going on. Really, you don't. It's almost like something happening. They've just opened things up dramatically. So given that, well, the cases are are piling up. I think we're gonna bite the bullet on that. And I wrote a piece that I'm going to read. I wrote it almost 24 hours ago, I guess, 21 hours ago. Our culture and money. I've often told of my great aunt's dying words. She suffered from bone marrow cancer. She lay in her bed for days saying these over and over and over. It all boils down to money. We sell our souls and our entire beings for money. We risk our lives and the lives of our loved ones for money. Money, the true God of America. Almost 3 decades after my great aunt left this world with those words on her lips, the money, that taking place in 1975, a year of death for my family. Both grandmothers died as well that year. But some 3 decades later, I found myself, the patriarch of my family. My wife, a brain tumor, my sister, cancer, my son, bacterial meningitis, each one wasting away. I had a business. I'd worked hard for years to build it. I brought in a cool $1 million a year, more money than anyone in my family had ever seen before, ever. My American Express Gold card was used and paid off every month. Never gave a thought about money. If I wanted it, I bought it. Then the illnesses started, all close together. Had to make choices. Keep running the business and getting those bucks, or take care of and spend time with my loved ones. Personally, I didn't find that choice a difficult one. I didn't find that decision a difficult one because of my great aunt and her dying experience that I witnessed. You see, she had kids, my cousins. Sadly, they were not the ones sitting at her deathbed, but they were the ones who prompted my great aunt to saying those dying words. It all boils down to money. Instead of spending time with their dying mother, they were arguing among themselves over who would get this or that, what would happen with her house, her property. My great aunt lay there dying. In her head, the words, it all boils down to money, from her head, then out of her parched lips, those words repeated over and over. This pandemic, then these riots, these protests, how quick the narrative changes to the money. I guess you've seen that. The businesses, our income, it all boils down to money. And the old folks lie in nursing homes, and the old folks who are in need are tossed aside for boats, cars, vacations, the very ones that gave you life, all for your material gain. It boils down to money. Our nation will not fall due to terrorism or even racism. Our nation will not fall due to losing a war or even a pandemic. Our nation will fall because it all boils down to money. And how wise or how perceptive my great aunt was when she lay on her deathbed, recognizing what she did, and because that's what our nation is built of. I see it. I'm a caregiver now. I'm a caregiver for a woman who has a son and a daughter-in-law. The son commutes back and forth to work probably within a short drive from where his mother lives. And I know that they have responsibilities. But this is what happens. We live in this world now that they worship kids. They worship babies. And I see this. And what, I've actually seen this. Little kids being sarcastic, little kids being stubborn. Oh, and they'll post, how cute. She takes after her mother. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Something I would have got chastised in the very least. And these people just, oh, that's cute. She just, look at her. She's a mini me. And that kind of stuff, But My mother was in good shape. My mother was active today. She died. My mother lived out in the country. I wasn't that close to her, um, as far as distance logistically, but I saw her constantly. There was hardly ever a day that went by that I didn't call my mother. Very rare. My sister too. It just didn't happen. I did a lot. I was very busy. I ran a business, traveled, and all kind of stuff. When my sister, and I'm not bragging on myself, it's just I come from a different world. And I just don't understand what's going on here. I wasn't on top of my family. My family was not on top of me. I had my own life over, here, and they had their own life over here. So we weren't living that close together. We weren't on top of each other. Uh, but it's a natural family bond. It's your blood. It's my mother. It's my mother. It's my sister. It's my family. And no, we had our differences, no doubt about it. My education took me in a different route. Our religion went shoo, and they were very religious. My father was a pastor. I went through my educational and growing experience. I went way off to the left, and they were right over here to the right. We still remain close. We did not spend our time dwelling on those issues at all. And I'm not trying to say it's perfect relationships or anything like that, but I never neglected my family. My sister got sick. I went to great lengths to take care of her. And this is the same time that at that time my wife had a brain tumor because I was going through my own issues at home. I had no help. I was in my 40s. I had no help. I had no other family. Nobody stepped up. My wife's family was in different states, and they at best would call, and just they weren't any help. My wife having seizures and all this crap going on, and I still did not neglect. I don't know. But here we live in a town that's, you know, can't buy out an hour of the week to come and, I don't know. People are different. What can I say? I just don't get it. Money, money, and all the above. Yeah, it frustrates me. It does. It frustrates me. And I'm over here and I'm caring, doing my best as an older fella, and I get exhausted and have issues of my own that I can't take care of. But anyway, so much for the whining. I just don't get it. Um, I call it child worship, and toss worthless old folks. I don't know, whatever. I hope that you do better with your family that I see others do with their family. You don't have to be on top of them. You don't have to try to rule over them. That's not the point. I never tried to control them, and they never tried to control me. We just accepted and loved each other. We communicated, wanted to know, how's your day? How's it going? It wasn't like we were chastising, controlling. That wasn't, like I see today. People think they've got to tell you what to do. They can't just be family. But it's a different world. Do I anticipate all the things that we see changing to make any great lasting changes in our country and the world? No, absolutely not. I've studied history. I've studied some psychology. I've studied human behavior. I have really studied human behavior for the best we got for thousands of years. It's short lived. We go in cycles, and that's just the way. We're short-sighted. We live in a bubble. Each generation that comes along thinks that they We're on top of it, and they have to wake up somewhere along the line, find out, oh, we didn't know shit after all. They reach a point in their life where the old saying, the older I get, the smarter my dad gets, and priorities. And our priorities screwed. But see, the whole system is built around materialism. The whole system is built around consumerism. If I came out with a cell phone that was durable, lasted forever, I would eventually nobody would need to buy them because this was as good as you're going to get. So that doesn't do capitalism and consumerism a good thing, does it? So I have to constantly upgrade. It's like, oh, a new iPhone's coming out. I knew this is coming out. I remember years ago they were working on tires that never went flat. Tires, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of miles on a tire, just were not going to go bad. And then all of a sudden you didn't hear about that anymore because there's no money in that. It's like there's no money in peace. There's no money in not having crime. See, that's why policing organizations are not in the crime prevention business. They give it lip service. They're not. They're not in the crime prevention business because there's no money in that. The money comes from chasing the crook, prosecuting the crook, incarcerating and punishing the crook. Then we can build a system of money. And people don't see that. They don't want peace. There's no money in peace. We got to keep, expending. It's like, oh, okay, what if Russia did this? What if North Korea did that? What if Iran? We got to have these enemies. And if you go back through history in the United States, it's like there's always one right around the corner. There's an enemy. You can't see him yet, but we've kind of already identified him. Hitler. It was Hitler, Mussolini, North Korea, Vietnam, communism, the Cold War with Russia. We don't have to really be at war, but we got to be on the edge of war. It's very important to be on the edge of the war. We got to keep that concern, that fear. Don't be afraid because we got a mighty military and we're going to keep investing in that military. The military budget's got to be up here. Always preparing for war. What good is it to prepare for war if you don't have war? If there's no war, then people are not going to approve of that kind of expenditure. Then they may say, oh, look at this money. Let's invest in healthcare. Let's give everybody healthcare. Oh, no. Well, you don't want that. But you want military. You want bombs. You want guns. Yes. Sad. It's pathetic. But there's no, that's what the system is built on. From A to Z. That's what the system is built on. And if, you'll take away my gun rights. Nobody's taking away your gun rights. Just maybe you don't need a gun that shoots 100 bullets a second, But you have to, it all boils down to money. I mean, really and truly, that's where it goes. It all boils down to money. When you've got to deal with this, it all boils down to money. And you follow that trail because if there's no money in it, it's not going to get support. There's no money in peace. There's not. If the world just came and it just was peaceful, it's like, oh, Putin's my buddy. Let's go golfing, Putin. Let's, it's just a world of peace and not having that tension, not just being on the edge, what we used to call the Cold War. Not just, even without firing a bullet, we got to keep producing those bullets. We got to get bigger and better tanks. We got to get bigger and better planes. We got to get bigger drones now. And now, why not go to space with our shit? Why don't send it up there? It's like, why the hell we spend all this money going to space? Think we're going to take our pitiful selves to another planet? We're just taking our shit with us. So what, are we going to go inhabit the moon or inhabit Mars so we can get up there and fight each other? Really? We can't live together here. Yeah, I mock Christianity with that one. You can't even, blacks and whites can't even get together and worship the same God in the same building together. Well, I go to the black church over here and I go to the white church over here. But you're going to spend eternity together? This is the world we've got, and nobody will wake up. We got a militarized police force because there's no money in peace. There's no money in preventing crime. They want to escalate things, and they want to control. Come in and you de-escalate and you calm things down, then you might not have to arrest this person. You might talk some sense into them. Let's sit down, calm down. We don't want to do that. And I'll tie this into Christianity. See, the Israelites, and this is where people, Christians, they cannot meld the Old Testament and New Testament. They don't understand, how does this come together? We got this wrathful God over here, and then Jesus comes along and he's got a little bit different opinion. Why would a Christian, I don't understand this. You want to talk about the 10 Commandments? Are you Jewish? Are you a freaking Jew? You don't understand the Bible if you sit there promoting the 10 Commandments. We got to have the 10 Commandments on this building over here. We got to write it on this stone over here. We got to put it in front of this building over here. We need to write it on the walls of the school. I guess we're going to turn them all into Jews and live under the 613 Commandments of the Mosaic Law instead of Matthew 5, 6, and 7. What they don't understand is Jesus came along and said laws don't work. Way back under, God took Moses up to Mount Sinai, gave him these 613 commandments, and said, here's the law. Y'all live by it and enforce it. Law from God's hand. It had to be perfect law. Came from God. Came from God. Wouldn't you say that was a perfect law? So they had the patriarch system. Abraham, all these guys, the patriarch of the Israelite nation. They couldn't. It failed. They couldn't. So they went to judges. Let's try judges. That's what we'll do. We got the perfect law. We just have to learn how to enforce it. So the patriarch system didn't work. So let's try judges. Okay? Judges didn't work either. So they were on. King. We need a king is what we need. They tried that. Didn't work either. And Jesus came along. Jesus is a Jew. He has education in the Jewish temple. He brought up under the Jewish tradition. So he got to be a young man. Late 20s. He got up. He said, look, this law, I'm not abolishing it. I'm just saying it's we learn from it. What we learn? It's ineffective. We couldn't live by it. So what do? We go by principle. Principle based on love. That's what Jesus taught. He was against the death penalty. Oh, tell that to some of his Christians. Yes, he was against the death penalty. Under the Jewish law, an adulterous woman was to be stoned to death. So they brought up to him an adulterous woman. Said, hey, we got an adulterous woman. Should we stone her? They were going to put him to the test. Jesus said, he without sin cast the first stone. In other words, if you are perfect, stone her. Well, not perfect, can't stone her. And Jesus didn't stone her. So he was against the death penalty because there's no perfect people. There's nobody perfect to stone her. So he demonstrated that he was opposed to the death penalty. He was opposed to prayer publicly, not just in words, but in action. Matthew 6, he said, when you pray, go to your closet. Don't stand on the street corner to be heard by men. Go pray in private. Ask your God in private, you'll be rewarded publicly. Don't be like the hypocrites. That's what he said. Well, they don't want to hear that because there's no power. I can stand up as your pastor, as your priest. Let us pray. What do we do? We bow our heads. Gives me power. I come in my robe, my collar. Let's pray. But Jesus said, you can pray, but do it privately. And every time Jesus prayed, read the story. He went off to himself. He didn't say, where's my 12? Where's my 12? Y'all gather around, let's hold hands. Let's pray. You know, like Christians, they go out in public and hold hands and pray. He didn't do that. See, these are cultural Christians. They're not biblical Christians. They've never really studied the Jesus story because they're more concerned, and it's a narcissistic view of Christianity. For me, what makes me feel good? What makes me look good? That's it. I look good. Why? Oh, I saw you and your wife and little kids. Y'all are praying. I saw you at the restaurant. I saw you at Cracker Barrel. Y'all good, holy people. Instead of holding hands and praying, you go, brother. Seen in church. Yep, I saw you. Good for you. Y'all went to church Sunday. Was it a good service? Yes, good service. Good. Roll Tide. So far removed from anything that Jesus taught, it's hilarious. It's a joke. It's a pathetic freaking joke. Boy, I got off on religion. But it kind of ties in because people want to say this is a Christian nation. People post memes, you know, say amen if you blah, blah, blah. If you believe Jesus loves you, type amen and share. See, that's just for people. That's such a joke. It's to be seen. Oh, he's such a God-fearing person. How do you know that? Just read his Facebook page. It's got God on it. He posts these wonderful memes about wonderful little emotional stories about these people that had these little miracles. He posts this stuff. And he says, like and share if you love Jesus. So I know he's a godly man. Oh, okay. There's Monday morning. I hope everybody has a good. This day was named after the moon, by the way. It is Moon Day. And, you know, hey, do what you want. I'm not God. I guarantee you that. And, but if you won't, you know, kind of a side note here. Nobody's telling you have to be a Christian. You know that, right? If you don't agree with what Jesus said, don't claim to be a follower of Jesus. It's that simple. And you know what? It doesn't matter whether Jesus is real or not. It doesn't matter if Abraham, Isaac, it doesn't matter if any of these stories are real. Because what you should be focused on is what lesson you can learn from those stories instead of worrying about Jesus died for my sins. It's a narcissistic view, isn't it? I know where I'm going when I die. Boy, you and God like that, huh? I ain't heard God talk to me. I don't know. There's a difference between religion and spirituality, and I'm going to talk about that soon, so pay attention, but not today. I hope everybody has a good day, and I hope you practice love in every way and understanding, and not just use the word compassion, but empathy. And white folks, don't sit down and act like all of a sudden you just are all about the black people. You can see through that garbage real quick. I'm not saying you're racist, but don't act silly. If you're not willing to get out there, and get dirty, just leave it alone. You know, um, this stuff. Oh, I've got black friends. Gosh, yeah. Just get over yourself. There's only one race. That's the human race. You guys take care and have a good day.